The views and comments expressed on the following radio program by its hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect the views of rmconair.com or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
See what you go through. Put my lighter in the air. The truth is you're beautiful, 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 beautiful. Now put your lighter in the air for us.
Hello world, hello world, hello world. Coming back at you again. It's a Sunny Wells show. I'm co-pilot stepping in for you, Dawan Scott. We got a packed house and a very special guest in house, which is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Jr. Can we give him a round of applause? Welcome. And beaming over special from China is an individual that is a mover and a shaker. His name is Donald Lee. And he's going to be our online Skype guest today. And we're going to have some few announcements. Donald, are you there? Can you hear us? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I can hear you guys perfectly.
Oh, great, man. We want to thank you for joining our show, man. And we're doing big things. I want to start out, man, with just letting our listeners know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that's just my guy. We go back. And his son and I are trying to do some things, a tribute for him. It's going to be a surprise, so Kareem, don't listen. And but one of the things we're going to do, Donald, is we're trying to work this out so that we beam the legendary Hall of Famer into your city. Can you tell us where you're at and a little bit about the camp you want to do?
Literally, the company in China that are located is in Hangzhou, but we can do either Hangzhou or Shanghai or both Hangzhou, Shanghai.
Okay, I want to introduce you to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Jr. And first, welcome to our show, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Lovely being here, checking everything out, hanging out with you fellas.
Inquiring minds want to know, man, how's Pops?
He's doing well. Had a bit of a health scare there, some major surgery, but like everything else, it seems he found a way to get through it, and just really appreciating being where he is now, starting to get that confidence back.
Man, tell us what happened, man. I mean, we were all caught off guard on this one.
Yeah, no, that's I think the main thing. It caught him off guard too. You never know, especially he's always making jokes about getting older. When you're not feeling yourself, you never know what it might be. And he went in for a real routine test with the doctor. They said, maybe this might be something else. And then they said, well, it actually definitely is something else. So went into his doctor's office, and the next thing he knew, less than 12 hours later, he was in the hospital. They said, yeah, you're not going home. We need to schedule you for surgery. So it wasn't what he wanted to hear, but at the same time, I kept trying to tell him if they didn't catch this when they did, it could have been a very different end of this story. So
oh, man,
you got to take the good with the bad sometimes.
Oh man, I tell you, it was 1979, and I grew up in this city, and Chick Hearn gave me a phone call and invited me to camp. And I was the first free agent player that Dr. Buss signed, and for whatever reason, your father put his arms around me, man, and he hated Kenny Carr. Yeah, he hated you. And he wasn't too happy with Adrian Danley. He didn't like you either, man. He called AD stood for athletic director. But for whatever reason, man, Cap and I got together, man, and we've done everything from Saudi Arabia, to the USBL in Oklahoma, and so it's just, and then now we're looking at China.
I remember that USBL stuff. You don't have to bring that up.
But I will say this: we took a last place team and won the championship.
This is true. This is true. My team, we did our best to get in the way, but if I remember correctly, you guys snipped us in overtime, so that was that.
You know what? That was a beautiful thing too, because we played you in New York. That was a big deal, man. Yeah, we played you. We went to New York and played you, man. That was a really nice thing.
That's right there in Brooklyn on Flatbush Avenue.
Oh man, that was something else, man. And I remember Mr. Alcindor back then too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was something else. He had all the war stories and all those, all those pictures and the whole 9 yards. But Donald, we got you there in China, man. Tell us about how big basketball is. A lot of people don't know there are 300 million registered basketball fans in China, man. And Jeremy Lin is over there now.
Yeah. 300 million. That's the population of basketball is still kind of like increasing like a literally day by day. So it's it's an enormous market. It's an enormous like increasing market, and the heat of basketball has been brought up ever since like Michael Jordan took they kind of like he kind of like took over the league back in the early '90s. And the NBA atmosphere. Thanks for Mr. Dave Stern, kind of like it's been like flowering like a big flood to all the countries in Asia, especially in China. And it's been pretty spectacular atmosphere for basketball, the sport.
You brought up Michael Jordan, and we have a graphic up here in the studio, man, that talks about a comparison between their careers. NCAA championships, dude, it's not even an argument. When you put in academic All-American, high school career, and collegiate career, and marry that with his NBA career, if you use that as a compass to say who's the greatest player of all time, he's done it on every level across the board.
Correct. Exactly.
How much love do they have for the big fella over there in China?
Huh?
How much love do they have for Kareem down there in China, man?
I don't think I can even count that though.
That's a good thing, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's countless.
That's a good thing, man. Now, when are you talking about doing your camp, and in what cities?
We're shooting for July or August, but definitely before September. And I'm shooting for originally would be Hangzhou, but if all the fans will be like pumped up, then I think we can do 2 cities, Hangzhou and Shanghai.
Tell us about Hangzhou.
Hangzhou's it's Asian, one of the ex-capital of the Asian China, and right now it's literally for it's famous of like great scenarios and very very beautiful city, and thousands of millions of visitors will be coming to Hangzhou for either leisure and relaxing times, and it's pretty modern as well.
There's a special relationship I remember fondly, man, of listening to Kareem, and you could tell us some more about this, Junior. Bruce Lee, Kareem said you guys babysat each other's kids. How did that go? What was the deal there?
Yeah, I've heard it from Pops. I've heard it from my mom a little bit too. But my mom has memories and stories that she'd tell me, not just about Bruce, but about his kids too, and having experience with them and watching them, and getting phone calls from my dad when he was over in China with Bruce. So I guess even outside of basketball, just my dad's connection with the country and with the culture goes back quite a bit.
I remember the fact that when Bruce Lee was, as popular as could possibly be at that time, and everybody was lined up to train with him, from Steve McQueen, Lee, all the big celebrities. But he appreciated your dad because he was always in shape. He was a consummate professional. Yeah,
no, that was a big thing. He, at first, kind of the way you hear about, and I know you guys are going to be talking about some NBA stuff later in the draft, Bruce Lee kind of looked at my father as a project. He never, used to thought about if I had to fight somebody with fists this big and arms and legs this long and this kind of reach, Bruce took that as a challenge and a project of learning how to teach him, but also how to defend himself against somebody like that.
Wow.
But Pops being in his shape and always trying to stay in top condition, Bruce took that as a sign of respect. So that he was, ready to learn what he had to teach him.
Your dad had me in stitches when he was telling me secrets about how when he got into the league, big men run the half court and they yell safety and they don't go all the way down for the fast break. And he would run the court, and the older guys were smoking cigarettes at halftime, and they were like upset that your dad was in such tip-top condition and making them all look bad.
Yeah, no, he learned that not just in high school, but he always told me Coach Wooden, when he was in college at UCLA, didn't put up with anything else. He said he thought he was going to need a lung transplant his first 2 months when he got there, but once he learned how to get from baseline to baseline and saw how he could use that to his advantage offensively and defensively, it's just something that he stuck with.
Man, that's something special, man. I want to, we've got the draft and a lot of other stuff we got to jump on board the rest of this show, but this has been a wonderful start, to the show today. Donald, we want to thank you for beaming in live and extending that invitation for us to be able to beam in our legend. And then and we look forward to finding out, the superstar we're going to send over, the player we're going to send over to your camp. So you're going to hear more.
Thanks.
We're going to hear more about this as we come up, man. And like I say, we truly appreciate you. We can go ahead and segue to break. And thank everybody. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Jr., Cap, we love you so much.